When you start to value the other things that you get outside of money, that's when you know that you fucking living life. When everything isn't about a fucking dollar. I'm telling you, when it's not about a fucking dollar, you start to fucking live life.
Today is a very interesting episode. It's an episode that you most likely cannot compare to any of our others. It's about spirituality. It's about making a choice. And it's also about accepting not being spiritual, right? All this stuff we get into, the reason we get into it is because it is the foundation of who we are. And from there, we can grow into business professionals, career professionals, and ultimately live a happy life. So this episode is a curveball, but I promise you, you are going to hear a lot of information you have yet to hear on this podcast. I cannot wait for you to hear it. Let's go into it.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we got a burner for you. We're going to talk about belief. John Fosco, he had this amazing idea, and I can't wait. I can't wait to hear him riff on it. And Maurice and I, we got a few things to add. Of course, as always, we're never lost for words. So I got to tell you, I'm excited about this topic, and I can't wait to get to it. But first, it's brought to you by shop.bstseafood.com. If you want the freshest East Coast seafood delivered straight to your door overnight, you got to holler at our boy, Mikey Scola, at shop.bstseafood.com, and we're going to give you a promo code, BIZ, B-I-Z-B-I-S 15 to give you 15% off. John Fosco, hit the next one.
Cory, I want to tell you, and I know you already know about this, about podcastinfluencer.com. Every single one of our listeners knows how we built this podcast, and we had no serious prior experience in podcasting. Throughout this process, we've learned so much about podcasting, about iTunes, and about what sponsors and companies that want to support podcasting look for. Because of that, we put together a podcast marketing agency that caters to podcasters, right? If you want to start a podcast, don't know how to set it up, don't know how to monetize it, don't know what equipment to use, podcastinfluencer.com is the spot for you. And when you grow to a certain point, we can connect you with corporate partners. Cory Gregory, what you think about that?
Hype about it, John. I think once again, as the Business and Biceps platform has grown, adding Reese, obviously, and us getting better with our audio and us just understanding like all the sponsorship that is happening in the space and really being able to help people feel what we feel, which is, you know, vindicated and being able to have a voice and talk about things on a weekly basis that, you know, is impacting a lot of people. It's fun to be in this space right now. And I'm excited to build this business in front of everybody, just like we do everything else, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you have a voice, I think what I've learned is that there's a sense of responsibility that nobody has to tell you, nobody has to make clear to you, but you feel it, right? You feel it because there's so many people listening, looking for guidance, and it just forces you, at least speaking from my perspective, internally to, you know, put your best foot forward and always be on it.
So here's the deal. So podcastinfluencer.com, check it out. It's one of the new businesses for John and myself. We appreciate you guys, the amount of reviews that have been coming through, the amount of 5 stars, the amount of like feedback we're getting from Business and Biceps, the amount of DMs that Maurice, myself, and Johnny are getting has been great. We appreciate that. And I want to hand it back off to John to kind of start the topic off. And then I know we got something for you. So Johnny, go.
So when we were in, or had the pleasure to be in, Coach Ryan's office, the head coach of the Ohio State wrestling team, he said something that since that day I've been thinking about. And he said to us, the first thing I tell people, anybody who gets involved in my program, and coach, if I get one of your words wrong, I'm sorry. I'm just recalling it from memory. He said, the first decision you need to make is you need to decide if there's a higher power, aka God. You need to decide if there's a higher power or if there isn't. Because when you make that decision, you need to get to know either of those decisions. And I interpreted that as, if you believe in a higher power, that is your moral compass. You can dig into it. You can educate yourself on it. You could surround yourself in communities that believe the same thing. And when we make decisions in life, there's always an underlying value, right? There's always an underlying value. And if you believe in a higher power, that is going to guide those values, right? That is going to guide that vision. That will be your moral compass. Now, it's also okay if you don't believe. But if you don't believe, what is going to be your moral compass? Because when you're making decisions daily, you must have that backbone. You must have that fiber. You must have that why when you're making decisions. It can't be, I make this decision because I feel like it. There always has to be what I like to call a bottom line, right? What's the bottom line? You treated this person like you treated them. Well, I want to be a good person who treats people well because there's nothing more important to me. Okay, fine. You don't have to believe in a higher power to have that be your bottom line. But at the end of the day, these are strategies on how to be effective in life. And I believe every human being, whether they believe in a higher power or don't, needs a moral compass. So make that decision. Think about it. Really think about if you believe in something. And if you do, get to know it better. And if you don't, that's okay. But find out in its place what you are going to get to know better so it can guide you.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, man. I think every individual, I think that's a lifelong, I don't want to say struggle, but like a lifelong self-discovering process. But I do agree with you. You have to have some sort of moral compass or some sort of foundation where all decisions are made from. And whether a person believes in a higher power, God, Buddha, whatever religious material, whatever it is that you believe in, or don't believe in, I just believe thought has to come from originate from somewhere. Me personally, I think that God is omnipresent. I think that you have a God-like qualities inside yourself, and I also think that there's the universal principles and God-like principles that tie into everything that we do. But I don't have a definitive answer, and I'm constantly myself. I'm always on this personal this personal discovery of some source to find out like just more significant and deeper meanings to life and actions and why we behave the way we behave, or why do I make decisions the way I make them. But I don't, excuse me, I don't know where that comment with Coach Ryan came from. I don't know what's the rhyme or reason on or the significance of why he does what he do. But I would agree. I don't know, based upon history, I would be interested to see the whole interview or hear the whole interview so I can have context for it. But I'll tell you, you have to have some sort of original place where all decisions are made and have a rhyme or reason on why you make the choices that you do make. And I don't know, because I want to let Cory go into it, because I just want to have this conversation unfold naturally in so many different ways. Because I promise you, I have like 1,000 things to say about this. Because I think like at 18 or 19 years old, when I was getting into college and you're trying to find out, more deeper or significant meanings to life, I don't know. It's just a whole lot to say about it, but I'll pass it off to Cory and just let the conversation naturally build.
Yeah, I think it's like, I grew up in the church, grew up Catholic, altar boy every Sunday, CCAD catechism class, really kind of in, I would say, about as deep as you can get. And then as I got older, I really, I came up with this kind of thing that it doesn't there's not like a box that you have to be in to basically be a person of faith in my mind. Like there's a lot of really good people that I know that live right, that don't go to church every Sunday. And so I didn't start to tie myself to, hey, this is what I have to do because this is how I grew up, or this is what my grandparents think I should do, or whatever. And I don't really talk about religion very much because there's certain things that, you know, divide people, and religion and racism and politics are the three things I usually stay away from. But what I will tell you is that at the end of the day, you have to have the Bible is just a bunch of teachings that are trying to teach you how to live right. There's just no more than stories, right? And so you can live in a proper way. And I just think that I learned it a lot as a kid. I'm not a person that's going to rip off of a Bible verse for you or get it tatted on my shoulder. That's not really my thing. But I am a person that I think that has really just tried to use what I learned as a kid and as I've learned as an adult to try to live in a manner that I'm proud of. And that everybody has an intuition or that inside voice that tells them what's right for wrong. Now, some people can rationalize one thing's right and one thing's wrong. That's all depending on the person. But to me, I just chose to have faith in myself, in the way that I operate, in the way that I want to operate in as a display for my family. And really, I base most of my decision making all on that and really no more than that. So it's not like something I kind of go out and really think about. I think that I established a base of where all my stuff and decision making comes from. And I just wage against that on a day-to-day basis of what's right from wrong. And I make tons of mistakes just like the next person, but that's really how I got that. And I think coming back to Coach Ryan, Reese, because you didn't hear the interview, he was just saying like he really believes a lot of his success and what he's doing is because he's like, you can really choose one way or the other. And not even from a religious standpoint, but you look at it just as a person. You can choose to believe that you can be this person that you aspire to be and that you want to be and that you dream about, or you can choose to not believe and really just deal with, you know, the limitations people are putting on you, do what everybody else says you could do. And I really think it can mix and match no matter which way. I chose not only to believe and try to live by a certain compass, but also to believe that everything was possible. I really think that this comes down to two different things. And what Coach was saying was that he just believed they could be national champions. He believed that he could, you know, be this and be that and live in this manner and impact these people. And I grabbed it from, you know, things that I had done naturally also. And I've really jived with it. And I thought it made sense because I just don't think the other way. Yeah. I just don't at all.
Go ahead, John.
What I was going to say is I brought this up to Cory once before, and I'm absolutely going to open myself up to the listener because, like Cory knows, I went to college for 5 days, but I wrote one paper, and it's 2 pages long, and it was on what our belief in God is. And this was written when I was 19 years old, and it's 2 pages. And I reread it. I've reread it all the time. My mom cherishes it, and it articulates exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share it with the listener. I'm going to read it to you guys. It's 2 pages long. And the reason I'm going to read it is because I believe, like Maurice, you said, it's omnipresent and it ties into everything we do in life. So here goes. My only paper in college, my 5-day career. Okay. There's no doubt in my mind that God is 100% real. I've felt very strongly about this for as long as I can remember. Although my belief in God is as strong as steel, I don't prescribe to any particular religion. I was raised in a Roman Catholic family and participated in the church until I was confirmed. After my confirmation, I really began to develop my own ideas of what God is and kind of strayed away from those of the Catholic Church. I consider myself more of a spiritual person than a religious one. I believe that I interact with God several times a day and in different types of situations. I believe that God is not a judge who is critical of our lives. I also don't believe that there is a hell that God sends people to if they don't live according to his guidelines. I view God as a universal power or energy. God is the goodness in every human being's heart. The goodness that wants to help someone in any way it can. The goodness that forces a smile when eye contact is made with a stranger, the goodness that keeps our world together, regardless of what religion anyone is. God's a universal power that discriminates against no one. and accepts everyone that chooses to subscribe. I can't buy into any religion because I feel that there are some forms of ignorance or discrimination in all of them. Many popular religions, like Catholicism or Islam, believe that scriptures that were written over 2,000 years ago should be interpreted literally. I completely disagree. I believe that there is some truth in both the Bible and the Quran, but many of the stories never happened and are in there strictly for the use of symbolism and to teach morals. So when I have a nun in the Catholic Church telling me that I better prepare for my judgment day, I can do nothing but chuckle, because I know in my heart that there will never be this catastrophic event called Judgment Day that I have to prepare for. It is only a story that has been passed down for a few thousand years, so human beings will treat each other with respect and dignity. The main element of the Catholic Church that I subscribe to is Jesus' message of forgiveness. I believe forgiveness is the most important element of human life. Many people do not have the power to forgive. This inability to forgive can hold one down for a lifetime. A lot of the time, forgiveness doesn't mean just forgiving someone else. It means forgiving yourself. If you can't forgive yourself for past actions, you will never be able to forgive anyone else. This can cause the inability to hold a stable relationship. People who don't forgive are not capable of holding a relationship with anyone, whether it be wife, mother, son, sister, girlfriend, etc. Without forgiveness, you will force people away from you because you will not let go of past mistakes, and you will always carry them into other situations to make others feel guilty. I tie this into my belief in God and religion because teaching how to live is the message of both. And in my mind, the most important thing in life is relationships with others. That is why Jesus made the importance of forgiveness so clear to all. So that is my paper. I got a 30 out of 30 out of it. And more than anything, I'm proud of it because in my mind, it ties together so much more than just believing in God and religion, but it also shows how it can interact with us on a daily basis. So that's why I wanted to share it.
I commend you for reading it, John. That's pretty awesome that you
Thanks.
wrote that when you were 19. What do you think, Reese?
A lot of it, probably 95% of it, falls in line with how I believe and probably where I form my opinion. And I can see now, like after reading that, I can see somehow like how me and John align. Like some people you just get along with, some people you just, have the same wavelength, but that's sort of my situation where, I don't prescribe to any religion. I'm very spiritual. If anybody hears me or anything I say, I always say everything is an act of spirituality. I do believe that you can manifest God in your life on many forms, and I also believe that God is active within the objects around us, things that were created by others. I think everything is like a semblance of beauty. I can understand why John likes art because that's somebody basically actualizing their God-like potential and giving something off to the earth. I definitely fall in line to what he's talking about in regards to forgiveness. And even with him just saying that, that just helped, that gave me confirmation on something I'm supposed to do to somebody who did me wrong, or I felt like they did me wrong. That was confirmation that forgiveness inside these relationships, like I felt like it was something that God spoke through him even today with something that I was going through. That was confirmation that I'm supposed to forgive those people and not take anything any further. But I think you can only hear these things when you're in tune, when you don't have these distractions in your life, when you don't have a bunch of crazy noise, a bunch of bullshit, for lack of better words, going on. But I fall in line literally too like that. I think that, please put this in context, but I think I have godlike characteristics to create. I think that's why, when I talk about living outside of your imagination, you have the ability to create things. You have the ability to, design your life, and God is like the ultimate designer of everything. And I think that you tap into him, or you tap into this energy or this force or whatever it is that you would like to call it. You can call it one moment, whatever you want to call it, just call it God. I believe when you tap into that, that's what you possess. You possess those same skills. He's basically saying that, hey, that you are one of me, and you have the ability to do this if you just tap in and live the way that you're supposed to live. But I think that when you talk about the way of living, the way of forgiving, the way of having the utmost character, all of those things allow you to be in line. And I think that pure joy and pure peace that you feel and just that feeling of like radiant energy and joy. I think that's God's reward to you when you're in line with Him, and all of that stuff, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, not beating yourself up, being a good steward of what God has given you life, and you're manifesting it on a personal level. I think that all that stuff, is just you being in line with God, and you fulfilling God's just to say it, I think just fulfilling God's will. I think God's will is for all of us to just do right by the next man, right by the next woman, to have forgiving hearts, to be servants towards one another, but to actualize whatever gifts that you have in this world to basically push and possess humanity. And I think it's our egos that oftentimes gets caught in the way, that stops us from doing that stuff. And so, and I'll say this within the context that I'm still growing. And as I read more information, you watch more documentaries, and your opinion becomes deeper and it changes, and you're flexible and humble, I believe you learn more and you grow more and your opinion gets sharper. But I think just even having this conversation, man, I think is good because it's a platform that's not really discussed outside of the church. And I'm pretty sure there's nobody in the business category talking about this shit. You know what I'm saying? I can guarantee you that because it's pushing on me to be more accurate with my words, and that's what I like. But hopefully this opens up dialogue or just a guy's brain to for him to discover on who God is and what it means to him.
Well, I think, first off, John, that was so cool. The fact that you were dialed in at 19, I'm not surprised one bit, straight up, just from knowing you, and especially how your mom is, how your mom is so spiritual and stuff. And I think that, just understanding it's just like anything. Once you have a path and what you're kind of married to and what you believe in, and that's really what I took from Coach Ryan. That's just the one you're on. And I think you can develop it over time and get a better relationship with this, better relationship with God or religion or whatever your power is. And you manifest over time that you're studying and live in a certain way. But it's like, I think that out there in the marketplace or out there in the world, everybody's, religion has caused so many wars and so much craziness. But in reality, it's all boiled down to, like you said, there's a lot of similarities. And it's really just about, like Maurice said, being right to the man, being right to a woman, treating people right, doing things right. I just think that everybody makes mistakes. But at the end of the day, I know when something's not right. And if I don't listen to whatever is telling me that it's not right and I do it anyway, then I never deserve what that outcome's going to be. I really believe wholeheartedly that my intention in service to people is why I'm where I'm at.
I think, Cory, I see, to me, and I don't want to sound like a Bible thumper because I'm not, but I think I think that's God, right? Kind of like back to how I wrote it, God coming through you in your own way, right? Because what you're spreading is positivity and is goodness. Yeah. And that's what I want the listener to really understand. We ain't trying
that's my gift, basically. I know what it is, right?
Right. And we ain't trying to preach about believe in God or don't believe in God. But it's like when you have a positive gift that impacts one person or billion or millions of people, like that is some form of a higher power or God coming through you. It's positivity and energy is what that is. And identifying it is very important. Yeah. I mean, obviously that's my take, but but I think it's very strong in you.
Well, yeah. And I've known it ever since I felt it or saw the reaction to certain people on how I operated. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just keep doing this more. It feels right. I get the information back. The feedback is that it's helping their life. And like to think, here's what's kind of crazy for me. And I think about it every day. It really made itself real present the other day when that boy or that man had reached out to me about how he was battling suicidal thoughts and stuff. And I thought to myself, I'm a weightlifter. I mean, I am a businessman, but weightlifting is my true passion in helping people. And to think that anybody at this point, and part of it is the time we live in, and the things that have put me on blast over time because of this. But to think it can impact somebody to that level still trips me out. But I know it's what I'm supposed to do. And that's what I always tell people that reach out to me and say, man, this, and this just made such a difference on my life. I started doing this when I was 21 and now I'm 32. I'm married with kids. I'm still using these things that you taught me. Like, my answer always is, you're just reconfirming that I know I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. The reason why I like this podcast so much is because I know as a group, as a team, that we're doing what we should be doing. The reason why it's going so well, the reason why the feedback is because we're all being super honest on these topics. It is impacting people. And that's why I think it could be purely one of the most successful things that I'm ever a part of, because it's so down to earth and real and impactful. And I got to tell you, that's really what it's about. Finding what you're into, being on that compass that you've kind of like married yourself to. And then once you get that feedback where you know it's right, I've just doubled down on all of that. I really think that's why I'm here,
Cory,
to be honest with
Cory,
you.
I also like this one, and I'll build on what John was talking about. That's your gift.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your gift to the world, and your gift to the world helps to make people or put people in a better place. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So they can be better to their audience and to their family and to that, and to whoever it is that they're servicing, right? And everything that you're doing is basically supporting humanity. But to swing it a bit, and I wanted to basically put this out there to the listener, like, don't feel bad that you may be a little bit confused about spirituality, religion, or just the relationship with God in the world in general. Sure. Don't feel bad if you feel indifferent about, Christianity, Islam, Catholicism, spirituality. Like that's very normal for an adult to just have your opinion sway from time to time. And as we live life, we gather more information. As we experience, we gather more information. And I can tell you one thing that impacted me as an adult. It was two documentaries that I seen. One was a documentary, one was a TV show, and the one was a documentary by what's his name, Bill Maher. It was Bill Maher.
Yeah, Religionless.
Yeah, Religionless, right? And that definitely had impacted my my mind and how God or religion is basically viewed amongst people. And so that was a deal. And then there was another one. It was on this it was a documentary on Outside the Lines. And Outside the Lines, I think, used to come on ABC, NBC, like at 11:30. And the gentleman on there, he had went to this like remote place over in India somewhere. And when he go to this remote place, it was this remote family, and they were living in this jungle. And there was these people who were coming to cut down trees in the forest. And as they were cutting down these trees in the forest, they didn't even know these fucking people existed. And so when they get back there, they was like, oh shit, it's like fucking people living here. And this was like, these people spoke like a language that, nobody has spoken since like 1900. And there was like, probably 5 or 6 generations of people who literally knew nothing but that. So the question came up was like, okay, like, where does religion fit in with these people? Is religion valid to people who've never been introduced to it? And so they went to this college, and they got this little girl from the States, and basically she was the interpreter of the language. And these people knew nothing about, Jesus, knew nothing about Muhammad, knew nothing about none of this stuff, but they still believed in God. And as the girl was talking to them, they was like, we still believe in something higher. And as they start talking, they just kept looking to the sky. You know what I'm saying? And they were saying like, okay, since religion has never been introduced to these people, like, what validates this? And then where does everybody consume or get their information from? And it's like, aside from that, we can argue about that to the death. But one thing we can't argue about is that these people feel that there's something out there that does exist, and the basic way of living is just being humane, feeding people, making sure that the elders had food, and making sure that they had the appropriate shelter. And this was in the fucking woods, and these people never escaped, and they just stayed here for years on end. And they had been in the same spot for 50, 60, 70 years. And so to me, and even with this, they said, to the lady who was out there, and she was interpreting, they didn't even know black people existed. They just thought it was brown people and white people. And they was like, for these people to be taken from there, and they had this big lawsuit, and it was like, hey, these are these people's native land and all this other shit. And that was like a whole different conversation. But it like led me to believe like, okay, where did my opinion from this shit come from? And how was religion introduced to me? And what was the rhyme and reason? And is this valid? And how much does history play into this? And so a lot of this stuff, the more you learn, the more you research, the more you start to listen to people who's into science, and the more you live, you're just constantly trying to figure out these external things. But one thing you can't deny is just that innate feeling that Cory may give off to that person, that innate feeling that's in that letter or that paper that John wrote, and being able to experience God inside you. And so I'm saying like to have like a natural curiosity to things that may be outside of you, that's totally cool. And that may need to be developed over a period of time, but to not deny what you feel inside you is a different thing. So distinguishing those two and not denying what's inside of you and not getting away from and always understanding like, hey, my opinion may change. If you fucking listen to Scientologists long enough, you might believe that shit, based upon where you're at in your life. And I'm not knocking it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not knocking it.
I'm knocking it. Scientologists are
Come on, Tom Cruise.
Hey, they're fucking lunatics, bro.
Hey,
Don't get into that shit.
Hey, so I'll let John say it, because look, in John's opinion is based upon what he's experienced, right?
You're right. You are right.
I don't have an opinion about it one way or another because I don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I can
they believe in a god called like Zufu Kufu, who was here like 80 billion years ago and arrived on a fucking spaceship, dude. And he's living below our houses right now with fucking 5 eyes or some shit. So yeah, they're a little wacky.
Are you making that shit up, John, or is that for real?
Oh no, it's fucking for real, bro. And here's the thing. If you join that motherfucking church and you quit, they literally pay private investigators to sit outside your house and harass you. And they send out press releases that says you're like a malevolent human being. They are absolutely insane. And actually, I want to talk about this for 1 second.
No, you don't. Do you?
The foundation of Scientology was founded by this author, right, called L. Ron Hubbard. And he wrote a book called Dianetics and a bunch of these other books. And he is on record saying, my God, the business to get into is religion, right? There's no taxes, there's this, there's that. You can control so many people. So he literally created a religion, and it was based on a fictional story that he created, and he used the power of persuasion to get all these followers, and he understood the power of celebrity. So he took this idea, and he was a very persuasive man, to the celebrity culture, and they grabbed it. Why? Because it was the new, trendy, cool thing. And now, it's worth, I don't want to say it's worth, but billions and billions are running through it. And there was a very powerful documentary on A&E by an actress named Leah Remini about escaping the Scientology church. And what they do is, if you have a family that's in Scientology and one family member tries to leave the church, they mandate, right? How ungodly is this? They mandate that the rest of the family exocommunicates that individual, disowns them, and never speaks with them again for leaving the Church of Scientology. So I have very strong opinions.
Yeah, I see that. It sounds fucking crazy. No one cussed yet on this one because it was so devout, but I want to.
That was fucking crazy right there.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So John, anyway, that's wild. But here's the thing, that the reason why, like, I really don't talk about topics like this very often, but I think it's important because you can really just go either way. And if you got to lean on the higher power, you feel it coming through you to your gift, like, just don't deny it and just kind of roll with it. I don't know that I all the way understand it all the time, but I don't know that you have to. But I just think that
Cory, that's why they call it that. That's why they call it faith, right, brother? It's like, exactly. I believe, and even the greatest spiritual minds, they come to a crossroads where they say, why, God? I believe this. Why is this happening to me? So everybody goes through this. If they are, let's say, devout believers, they question it. That's why faith means I believe. It doesn't mean It's fact. And the one thing I would just say real quickly is like, this ties to business and professionalism, because I know a lot of you are listening for that reason, because the main message that I, at least for me, that I take from this, it is forgiveness, right? So like when we go through life, there's so many people that upset us, that do us wrong, blah, 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 blah. We all know that, right? If we do not understand that we destroy ourselves internally by holding grudges and not letting go and not forgiving people, that can not only tear us down personally, but it can tear us down professionally. There's going to be people you don't like in your office. There's going to be people you think backstabbed you in your office, but you have to learn to forgive so you can live out your gifts, right? It's about what you do. So holding on to what others have done to you does not serve you. It does not help you. It will only chain you up. And I've had to learn this firsthand, and it's a painful lesson, right? It's a very painful lesson, because you always say, why should I forgive this person? Right? Like there's people in my life right now where as I'm speaking, I say, I'm a hypocrite, right? That is the definition of like faith. You're always battling. Like, I'm a hypocrite. I need to forgive. But I can just tell you all that if you're in the office, if you don't like this person, it is doing you no good to spend any time or energy thinking about that. Let it go. Let it go. Smile next time you see them, because then you can be focused on what you can give to the world and what you can give to your business, and then you will ascend up the ranks.
What I try to do, Johnny, is not let that stuff rent space in my head. I mean, because that's what it does. And eventually you go grudge after grudge after grudge after grudge, and all the tenants, man, the whole building's full, bro. And there ain't a lot of room for what you're really supposed to be doing. And all that stuff does is take you off the path. Like I talked about this before, there's that straight line right to the top. And these things, they're like throwing roadblocks in front of the train, man. The train is going one way, and boom, they just keep throwing stuff and slowing you up, because you're letting that not forgiving that person that did you wrong, or, tried to hold you down, or do like.
But Cory, people say how. They say that they say how. I'm so mad. Mm-hmm. How?
Sure.
How do I do it? How do I do it?
Hey, make a choice.
Yeah, that's how I've got through it over the years. I just think like, hey, here's what I always do. Okay, if I get wrapped up with somebody that I should have forgave or did me wrong or whatever, I know the way I'm real in tune with how I feel, how I operate, how I'm just moving through life. And I'm thinking to myself, I got wrapped up going down this rabbit hole, worrying about this person, and look how like real productive I am. Not very fucking productive. If I just go ahead and say, whether I lost money, whether I was butthurt about it, say, you know what, I forgive you, do your thing, like release it. There is a release that kind of goes on in your head or in your being that allows you to kind of move on. And when you move on, it kind of breaks the constraints to let you just go to that next level, whatever that may be. I think that's a massive thing. Like, and I've been pretty good about that for the most part of my career, but just like the next person, I've dwelled on things, thought about it, pissed off about it. And then finally I get and say, you know what? It just ain't doing me no good. I'm just real in tune with, like, I always tell people, like, if you knew how good you could feel when you're really locked in, and I don't know, some people, maybe they've never been locked in for long periods of time, but I have been. And I understand what that feels like, and I try to keep it as close to that as I can. I can't always do it, but that's the thing that takes me off that faster than anything. And I just can't let it rent space in my head. Just don't do it.
I'll tell you this, and I'm actually going through it, and I had a conversation with Cory before the show. And I think one of the things that's helped me get through it is to accept what's took place, right? So, hey, you did me wrong, or that's my perspective on the situation. My feelings are wrapped up into something. My ego is wrapped into something. And I've created this whole little deal in my head of how I've been done wrong. And all of this, all these emotions are brewing. And to get over it is just to accept it and say, you know what? It happened. It is what it is. Whether I like it or don't like it, it doesn't matter. It happened, right? So you accept it. You know what? I don't know what's going on in that person's life. I don't really realize why they did what they did. Even though I don't agree with it, I forgive you because it consumes you throughout the day. And me saying, me getting past that and getting back on my beaten path is ultimately the most important thing, because for 2 days, I'm focused and driven into analyzing a situation that really doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I was in the weight room today, and one thing I said to my guys that I was around, I said, you know what? Every day I get up and I look at my vision board and things that I'm trying to accomplish. And being preoccupied with this situation isn't on my board. And whenever I decided to sit down and make my board and develop the plans for my board, I did it with a clear conscience. I did it in a good mood, and I did it all with the possibility of accomplishing these goals. And so I need all of my energy because the stuff that I'm trying to shoot for is massive, right? And so then you have these roadblocks that come up, or you have these situations that, that you don't necessarily agree with, or there are these little small distractions, right? And I believe, and I told Cory this, that, your distractions and your blessings, they usually weigh the same. The bigger the distraction, the bigger the blessing. You know what I'm saying? And along the way, you'll have these things that you can either get caught up into, and it'll be interesting and it'll be fun. And you can go ahead and be vengeful, and you can be spiteful, and you can go ahead and feed into your ego and get into it with these people. And you can accomplish all that shit, but you won't get closer to the goals that you've set for yourself. And you won't get closer to those feelings that you thought that you would have once you originated those goals and set them and wanted to accomplish them. And that's all just the spirit, a different spirit that's pulling on you to act in the primitive state. You know what I'm saying? And so having a high level of importance with staying dialed in and keeping that stuff. And just like Cory said, understanding how it feels to be in that space is highly important. But John, back to the thing that you talked about in the beginning, the main thing is forgiving. Is it easy? No. But what I think it is it's just like lifting weights. It's like, you forgive, and just like you condition yourself, you're conditioning yourself to be stronger when the next situation come up. And so the situation I'm going through right now, this is doing nothing more than conditioning me for the next moment. Your adversity is your sparring partner. And I just believe that this is going on in my life. And so everything's come down to how you view something. And I'm choosing not to view this in a way where, I want to put my mind in this negative space. And I don't even want to wish bad on people or what they have going on. And so that's why I'm choosing to stay forward. But the confirmation of you saying that about forgiveness, that was confirmation that I did the right thing, that I'm doing the right thing.
Man. Well, hey, what I was saying too, Johnny, to Reese was, this is just part of the process. You got to go through. Look, has there ever been a champion in the WBC that ain't sparred 100 times, plus had the show days, plus had the big fights, plus you got to go through all that stuff to hit to the pinnacle where you want to be. That's just part of the process. And if you can't forgive along the way, you can never reach it. It's just impossible, literally, because people are going to fuck it up or try to.
You're not focused on you. You're not focused on you. You're letting somebody. I really liken it to when you do not forgive. You're letting another individual, whether they're trying to be or not, you're letting them be your puppet master. You are a puppet on a fucking string. It's like, dude, if you identify that and really understand that theory of, I'm holding all this negative energy towards this person because they did this to me, they are controlling my thoughts. Yep. They're controlling my behavior. They're controlling my mood. Well, wait, what the fuck am I doing? And what good is it doing for me not to just let the shit go, man?
It makes you feel so much better once you do.
Oh my God.
Remember the whole saying, he who angers you controls you?
Yeah.
He who angers you controls you. That's the fucking truth too.
He who angers you controls you, 100%.
And look, John, in your art of war mind, if you're allowing your competitor essentially, or your rival or whatever you describe it, control you through emotion, you're fucking losing.
Oh man, it's about, you're damn right. It's about constant, supreme, and the clearest form of focus and vision. And it is absolutely 100% impossible to have a clear, calm, focused strategy, if your energy and your thoughts are going towards, oh, this person did this to me, I'm mad at this person, fuck this person, I'm trying to get this person. Listen, if you're trying to get a person for a strategic reason, for a business reason, okay, I don't mean like take them out or anything like that. If we're talking about the art of war, it's a clear mind. It's a strategy. In business, we have competitors. If we're trying to take them out, it's not about being angry at them. It's about saying, okay, you compete with me, therefore you must be taken out. And with my clear mind, I will assassinate you. And with my clear mind, because I'm not angry at you, I'm going to put together a plan that focuses on your ignorance and your ability to not anticipate what I'm going to do. But you're absolutely right. There's no way you can successfully execute any plan if you have all these things pulling on your mind. There's no way.
I just don't think you can think clearly when you have something eating at you like that. I just think the decision-making process, it's never going to work for you. It never has worked for me. I don't feel as smooth. I don't feel as like in tune. I try to clear that stuff out. Like Maurice talked about it a while ago, something I shared with him about noise. Like I've always been like the noise canceller. Like I'm always trying to get all that stuff out of my head, because at the end of the day, like if I'm canceling that noise and I can think clearly with all the habits that I've put together, then I can make the best possible decision for myself, for my business, for my family in that moment. Because it all comes down to the supreme clarity that you're achieving. And if you're constantly working on taking that garbage, throwing it out of your brain,
right,
dealing with these people, forgiving them, moving on to this thing, that I got the best possible, like I'm putting the best possible me in the situation. I've prepared all this time. I've cleared out all this bullshit, and I'm going to give my best chance to win.
Right.
And that to me is the strategy.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Mo.
No, I was just saying, just as a person, to hell with everything else. It's just you just don't feel good as a person waking up and being at odds with anybody. Not even just them. We're just talking about just basic fucking human being where you're waking up. I don't want to be at odds with nobody. I don't want to have negative feelings towards people. I don't want to feel like I'm in some melodramatic war with somebody. I don't want to feel like, I don't want to be that attached to something. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing, just becoming less attached to things and perspectives and egos. And this is just my personal journey. This is just my fulfilling and becoming all who I want to become. And so it's just like this, right? So I categorize these feelings and these emotions just like drugs and alcohol. These things don't support me into a better way of living. So I don't want to attach this to my life. You know what I'm saying? Me having confrontation with somebody, I don't want to attach this to my life. Me having a negative perspective or, oh, I'm mad at you, let me get you back. Because in my mind, like, you may not relapse with drug. And I say this too, right? So I say, a lot of times people get scrutiny for, they let's criticize the guy with drugs and alcohol because we can see the negative effects of what those things actually do to you. We can physically see them. But there are other ailments, like I say, like lying, being lazy, having bad attitudes. There's other things that you can include in your life that have just as much effect as drugs and alcohol, but they're not widely seen because they're not physical. You know what I'm saying? And one of these things is to be like just so fucking butthurt, or to be just so negative, or to be just so angry towards things. And just like you say, Johnny, yesterday, whenever we did the last podcast, these things are free. You know what I'm saying? The ability to switch your mind is free, and you have free will, and you have the choice to do that. And so just on a basic human being level, I don't want to be in that shitty mode, because I don't want to be shitty to my daughter. I don't want to be shitty to my woman. I don't want to be shitty to people I may see at the post office, the car wash, the grocery store, none of that, because that doesn't attract anything positive to me. But I think you have to go through this stuff, because this is just part of, you're trying to live life, and you're trying to build business, and you're trying to accomplish, and everybody has something that like, if you did the flip side of the stuff, they're going through something. And as they're going through something, this is something that they'll learn from it. So I just want to be a better fucking individual all over. I don't want to be a piece of shit. I don't want to like, when I robbed motherfuckers and I was hustling and selling dope, I was a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? I just don't want to be a piece of shit individual or do piece of shit. And so I'm just trying to control just all of the circumstances where I'm just not doing things that I would consider a piece of shit sort of work in order to just continue to develop myself and just be a better person in general. That's all. That was my little 2 cents on it.
Reese, I got kind of a random question. When you're in those moments, and maybe you weren't obviously in the right frame of mind, but like, how would you even process that stuff? Was it just like survival? I can't identify. That's why I'm kind of asking.
You're in survival mode and there's no moral compass. There's no, how do I make decisions? There's no, I don't care what others think about me. There's none of that. It's all self-centered. It's all selfish. It's all primitive. It is very like,
gotcha.
Jungle is like, let me get what I need, and regardless of how I may offend people. You know what I'm saying? And so just like relapse with drugs and alcohol is always on the table, relapse in behavior for me is always on the table, because like when you so when you're going through drugs and alcohol, let me run to this feeling because it makes me feel better. Let me get drunk. Let me get high. Let me alternate this feeling. So when I run into a situation where I'm mad at somebody, the first thing on my mind is crime. You know what I'm saying? I can solve this with committing a crime. This will make me feel better. I can solve this from doing this stuff. And so there's always that thing to say, hey, you need to keep this thing in check because none of this stuff helps you to build better. But when I'm in that space where I'm thinking like I'm in the streets and I'm this gangster, everybody is selfish, every man for themselves, straight survival mode. You just putting on a different uniform to look cool for the culture. And so that's like piece of shit. Like the world isn't selfish. The world is in a way that I'm serving the next man. This business and bicep shit is nothing more than servicing people's lives and sharing experiences and trying to get them better. When you're lifting weights for the motherfucker, you're doing nothing more than that. Like you're just servicing people in a different capacity. And so I've grown to a point where I actually give a fuck about another human being. You know what I'm saying? And so when you out here robbing motherfuckers and running up on them with guns and shit, and you out here pushing dope in motherfuckers' face and smashing weed and influencing kids and, not kids, but these are adults, and you got these dudes together and let's grab, a couple guns and we go to the club and, you guys act like you fucking, fucking apes and shit, like, like fucking doing primitive shit. Like, let's go bully somebody, beat somebody up and look tough and have sex with the women. Like, that's just not fucking life. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the best way I can describe it. But as you live more life and as you run into different people, you start to have different experiences. You feel different. And so if I was a piece of shit and this happened years ago, this problem would have been solved months ago. You know what I'm saying? Or it wouldn't even be a problem because I would have posed myself as don't fuck with me. But I don't want to live like that no more. So I'm not going to live like that no more. But I'm still human. So I process the emotion. I just know how to get past it so I can teach somebody how to get past the shit as well.
I want to say one thing.
Yeah, I want to toss this in on Maurice's comment. Like, anybody who gets angry and feels that anger and they want to act, and whatever they want to act on feels good, right? So you're angry and the action feels good. That is when you're in absolute danger zone. That is when you are in the most danger to yourself you could possibly be, because there is not active, positive thought. It's all your ego responding to anger. And when an act feels good when you're angry, you are going to damage yourself in such a severe way. So for all the listeners, when I was hearing Maurice talk, that just popped into my head. Thought doesn't enter that. Anger plus action is when you put yourself in the most danger. And I have done that. And I would just love every listener to kind of digest that, because it is that's where shit happens. And you can end up in prison, right? Because it happens real quick. You're just pissed off. Yeah. You know what I'm saying, Maurice? It's like, dude, thought is gone. Anger and action equals the danger zone. Please remember that. So when you're angry, always remove yourself from a situation. Always find what can calm you or what can bring you back to a place of reminding you what the good things you have in life are, your mother, your brother, your sister, your daughter, your girlfriend. But man, do not act do not act when angry. That's literally what I got to say.
Johnny, I tell like this, one thing that they would always say in prison was this. They say very few good things happen after somebody says fuck it. You know, because once you say fuck it, all thought goes out the window. It's just fucking straight action. And so if you have a takeaway today, and if you're going through something where you're pissed off and you need your fucking moral compass, you know, just sit your ass down and listen to the podcast 2 times. I'm telling you, I'm serious. It's not worth it, man. It's like I can't say it other than that. Then it's not worth it. Your vision and your plans and your goals and things that you sit down and constructively have built for your life, and in that focal point or that good feeling when you were dreaming, that place of fucking morality and all that stuff that you're doing is also important. And I'll say this, and I'll pass it off on to Cory because I know he's going to say something. Like, I'm also even taking into consideration, you know, I'm a leader of 130 odd people, you know what I'm saying? And it would be a disservice to them for me to even have my focus elsewhere but leading them. And so as the more life I feel, I start to feel responsible for everybody around me, the people around me, the people that I'm connected to, the people that I give paychecks to. And I just want to make sure that I'm leading these people in the right capacity. And part of that comes to, and I take this shit serious. Like when somebody actually signs up and says, hey, I want to be employed by you. I want to work with you. They're giving you their life. They're giving you their family. They're giving you their bills and all of their responsibilities. And so as a leader, I think you owe it to these motherfuckers to lead them in the right way, or to put the company or all of the dynamics that would keep the company in the best situation. You owe it to those motherfuckers to do the right thing. And that's just my personal opinion on it. And I'll tell you like this may be the most therapeutic and best fucking podcast that we have done up until this point. And I'll tell you that shit.
Right. It's halftime. Right. Hey, yo, it's halftime.
It's halftime, Johnny. I'm not going to rap like Nas, but what I am going to tell you about is, have you tried the cod, tuna, red snapper, tilapia, steamers, halibut, scallop, salmon, lobster, shrimp, or swordfish from Mikey Scola at shop.bstseafood.com?
If you had an ounce, just 1 ounce of respect for any man in Boston, you would not say lobster. You would say lobster. You'd say lobster.
I would say lobster, just like the monster.
You disrespected Mike Scola, and he has already dove in the ocean. And even though he cannot swim to Columbus, he will find some channel or a river, and he will make his way to the office, and he will find you, and he will crack you in the head with a lobster. And he said it's lobster, not lobster. But
I'm going to make up for that, John.
Yes.
I'm going to call it wicked lobster.
Okay, there you
lobster.
go. Well, I like flounder, Cory. I like flounder, and I like flounder delivered the next day with my lobster, Mikey. I like my lobster delivered the next day at by 2 p.m. All the lobsters, they're alive. You throw them, you boil them. I love it, Cory. And I don't think you should be allowed to receive any more lobsters from Mikey. So, Cory, we're banning you, actually. I just talked to Mike on our walkie-talkie. I am banning you, okay? I am banning you from getting any more lobsters from Mikey because you don't even say it right.
John, I couldn't tell whether that was a Boston accent or a British one. Wow. I think your flounder's small, John. I'm just saying.
You got a little hey, you got a little tuna, all right?
So out of all that dialogue, make sure you support Mike. He's been supporting us for a long time. Shop.bstseafood.com.
Hey, me and Jeremy saw you in those bodybuilding trunks, buddy.
I know that you have that as your wallpaper on your phone, John, but that's a whole nother episode. And promo code BIZ, BIZ, 15 for 15% off. John, take it away with Podcast Influencer.
Oh, my God, Podcast Influencer. What an amazing company. If you want to be heard, if you have any passion, if you want to be a podcaster, we have an amazing agency. It's called Podcast Influencer. It does 2 things. It helps podcasters not only build up their podcast, but also get it seen and get it heard. So companies, and trust me, companies are rushing in to support podcasters so companies can see you, support you, and also so you can build your subscriber base and just build a fantastic show. So not only is there podcast consulting and podcast marketing, but there's also connections with companies that support podcasting. So if you have any interest, or if you have a podcast already and want to take it to the next level, visit podcastinfluencer.com. You will not regret it.
And lastly, if you'd like to get your supplements in a sack, yes, I said that correct. What's in your sack? Right to your door.
Well, we have an XL sack, we have a regular sack, and then we have a Corey Gregory sack, which is a mini.
Man, I don't even have a rebuttal because I really didn't think you were going there, John, but fuck. So if you want to build any 3 products and a free t-shirt for $100 or any 5 products, which is the XL Corey G stack with a t-shirt, which is for $160, and you can mix and match. Literally at this point, there's about 20 different products. And look, I've been in supplements for a long time. There's never been a company straight up that you could go and mix and match any SKU. It's literally never been done ever.
History, guys.
We are the first
history in the making.
And it's a challenge. It's a challenge in that industry.
Dude, he invented the car. That's what we're doing. Okay.
I'm not sure if it's accurate to be me, you, and Henry Ford in the same, but
I don't know.
But it's close, John.
Kind of close. What are the brothers? Hey, the Wright brothers. They invented.
Wright brothers. We're closer to the airplane.
They invented the airplane then. Really close. Yeah.
So I would say the invention of the airplane is very similar to the invention of build a stack with a sack.
Oh, yes, I love it. Yes.
Totally. MaxEffortMuscle.com. I can't wait to get back to this.
Edison. He invented the light bulb, right? The light bulb. I think it's very similar to the light bulb.
There was a light bulb that went off, though. I'll tell you that. All right, let's go back to the show. It's a killer. Come on.
Halftime. Hey, yo, it's halftime.
Love it. I think Reese is, to your point, John, too, is like the guy who says fuck it and essentially has nothing like in his brain at that point in time, has nothing to lose is the worst because they're going to act with
there's no rules.
There's no rules. And so that's the person I'm always afraid of. I mean, metaphorically, because that's there's the outcome or the repercussions don't matter. Right. And so if you ever get in a space like that, you gotta have a way to talk yourself down essentially off the ledge because you're not going to accomplish anything. And I've never had any crazy situations like that for the most part, except for 1 or 2 on hand. And the way that I held myself back, I was proud of because I think I definitely would have ended up in the news. And the way that I forgave that person, which we talked about earlier point, was the only way I could get by it because I couldn't be vengeful. I couldn't understand why they would do that to me. They needed it more than I needed it is the way that I kind of like rationalize it because I think it was true because desperate people will do desperate things. 100%. And I mean, right. Yes. And so I really had a major situation and I won't go into super detail, but if I would have went with what I wanted to do, what was natural for me as a male with this much testosterone, natural testosterone, obviously, but fired up, I wanted to knock a motherfucker out to the next week. But what would have transpired from that would have totally took me off of this path that I was on, the trajectory that I was on that was only up. And because for one split second, I had a moment of clarity and then was able to put my ego back, forgive this person, realize it didn't change my life any, but it changed theirs. And they were that desperate in that moment. They thought that was the only way. Go ahead with it.
Corey, I'm going to give you a quick story on the flip side of it. I'm sorry.
Please.
Yeah. On the flip side of it. So you are smarter than me, clearly, because I want the reason I'm going to tell this story is because I want people to understand how quick it can happen. Like how quick it can happen if you don't have awareness. So I am drinking a beer with my friends at a 4th of July party and a dude I don't know is just running his mouth to me and my friends. I'm drinking a bottle of Bud Light, and he starts talking about how he's got guns. And I said, hey, man, we're having fun here. Can you kind of like cut that out? Right. And then he kept yapping. So John got angry. Right. John got angry. I was very, very, very into my own feelings. And I said, hey, cut that shit out. And he walked close to me. Right. And now here my ego comes. I said, hey, man, you know, if you touch me, you're going to have to pay for that. And he goes, oh, yeah, what are you going to do? This, that, and the other. Now, what should I have done? I should have walked away because I knew that situation, no fucking good is going to come from it. And I believe listeners, okay, can get in this situation very easily. So my ego got the best of me. I said, hey, man, fucking touch me at your own risk, dude. So as I go to drink my Bud Light, it's in my mouth, my head's tilted back. I get shoved on the left shoulder, and the beer bottle's in my right hand. The second I feel my body get shoved, I throw a haymaker. Well, I forget that I'm holding a glass Bud Light beer bottle. I throw a haymaker, and I hit him right in the eye. Well, when I hit him in the eye, the beer bottle explodes. It exploded so intensely that I have a friend who got 12 stitches in his neck, who was standing 15 feet away because it exploded. It sliced his neck. Well, the guy I hit apparently was a high-level gang member, and he ended up falling. And when I looked at him, it looked like a horror movie. Now, because I wasn't thinking, I forgot I had a beer bottle in my hand. I never would do anything with any kind of weapons. Well, I cut his eye out when I punched him. When I punched him, the beer bottle slashed his eye out, and his eye was out. And this gentleman, okay, I assume he's a gentleman now, has a fake eye because exactly what I told you guys to do, I didn't do. And for 3 months, I was underground, straight up underground. Dudes wanted to kill me. Dudes wanted to kill me. That's how quick it can happen in a regular scenario. It's a 4th of July party. Boom. If you're not aware of this shit, right? And if you do not have your ego in check, and I have to tell you, when you have a gang, and in Chicago, gangs are not a joke. They will clip you in a fucking second. When you have a gang after you, okay, everything changes. So I need to share that with you guys, because I know a lot of you guys are going to be in situations where there's parties and there's disputes, but my God, the bigger man always walks away. And thank God that I'm still speaking here today, because that's what it can get you.
That's some crazy ass shit, Fosco.
I mean, it was real.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
It's real.
Yeah. You know what? No, it's really terrible. I mean, it's to this day, I feel I really regret. I really have regret over that, because I don't know what it's like to have one eye. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm pretty sure my man, had he looked back, I'm pretty sure if he sat down with himself, he wished that he never started all the bullshit that he started. I wish both parties, I'm pretty sure both parties wish that situation, that event didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm pretty sure he says, hey, my ego got the best of me, and his ego got the best of him, which in turn, your ego got the best of you. And I think that at the end of the day, it's a learning lesson for both people, because I'm pretty sure, you know, nobody wants to wake up with one fucking eye when they were born with two healthy ones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that, yeah, I didn't see that one coming. I'll tell you, you guys are probably think this is interesting, but the reason in that moment why I didn't, like, I was wound up one step haymaker about to put this dude in the next week. And the reason why I never threw the punch in all of the rage that I was at, which I was not proud of, was he never moved. So he set me up. So if it don't matter whether it's Maurice Claret's big ass or John, you're like, if I take 3 steps and I'm bringing everything I got, you're probably going to move, right? This guy never moved. And so I thought to myself, like, ding, 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 like, you're on a show right now. And so when I pulled back, the first thing I thought about was Ocho Cinco, because at the time I had been working with him and he had never got in trouble, bro, ever. Right? he might be outlandish on the internet and Twitter, but he headbutted his wife a week before that, and it lost everything. The Patriots cut him. He lost his reality show. People calling him a wife beater. Dude, in one split second, Chad lost it. He had never been in problem for drugs, for alcohol, anything, violating anything. He headbutted Eva, I think her name was, in Evelyn. Yeah, she's super cool because I had talked to her multiple times about doing some marketing stuff with her. He headbutts her. Boom, whole life changes. Overnight, dude. Over fucking night.
Do you remember I was around that time?
I know. It was wild, dude.
I remember that.
That one split fucking second changed everything. So anyway, I think that John, I'm sure that wasn't an easy story to share. Maurice, the stuff that you've been through and admitting to doing what you did and just like letting people know that this is going to happen in the process of life. You're going to run into these situations, but you could avoid them.
Yes.
And then, trying to move on. So anyway, I think it's crazy. It's some wild stories, but I mean, the truth is if you're pushing and doing enough stuff and you're out there, you're going to run into some crazy situations.
Can I say this, Cory?
No question.
Can I say this, right? Is this a safe thing to say? And I'm finding out the more that you build up to lose or the more that you accumulate or the higher that you ascend in our culture from a social status or a financial status, you need to get conditioned on getting punked. Because I found out that I get punked now more than I've ever got punked in my life. And it comes down to I got something to lose. They don't. I can't respond to the situation the way I would normally respond to it. And I promise you, I said, man, I feel like a fucking punching bag some days because my reaction to something is totally different. And this is going to play out different, i.e. I'll get sued, I'll be on the news, i.e. this just is not worth my life. And as I'm hearing you talk, I just been saying that to myself. I say, man, you fucking start to make something of yourself and motherfuckers just punk you and like, not like come up to and physically punk you, but you have to look past something that the normal person would normally engage in or get involved in. And so if you're listening to the podcast, I would assume that you're trying to build yourself into something. And in order to stay on the path, don't get caught up in the process of why you're building yourself because you don't even know what type of fucking gifts that you possess. You don't know all of what you can do, but you get caught up into some dumbass shit for a dumbass reason over some dumbass money.
It'll be gone.
Man, dude, it may not be gone, but it may be delayed fucking 10 years like me. You know what I'm saying? Like your success can be like, okay, well, I'm not, you got to deal with the consequences of all these bullshit decisions. And after you're done with that, then you can come back to the starting line and then start to build your fucking life over. And so if you want to save yourself of 10 years of fucking, the detour, you know what I'm saying? Just don't get into the stupid shit in the first place.
Well, because I'm pretty sure, Reese, that and Coach Tressel talked about it. Like you had a vision for this stuff when you was 18.
Yeah, no, I if anybody ever
giving back to Youngstown, helping people, like all this is stuff you had already talked about.
This, and the book documents it. So Coach Tressel wrote a book called The Winner's Manual. So
I have
it. 18-year-old kid and go to the chapter on hope, right? If you go to the chapter on hope, he used to sit us down. He said, out of anything that you can do, like what is your goals in life? You know what I'm saying? And he would have a goal sheet. He would have goals and objectives and plans. And he would say, how are you systematically working this plan to actually actualize it, right? And so he would sit down, have one-on-one meetings and basically mentor you and encourage you. And so most guys, probably 80% of the guys would say, hey, I want to be an NFL football player. So believe it or not, I wanted to play in the NFL because I knew I had the talent to play in the NFL and I knew I would make money in the NFL, but I never wanted to be like an NFL football player. That just wasn't my deal, if that even makes any fucking sense, right? I just never envisioned myself as that. And so I said, hey, I want to be a leader for my community. And a lot of this stuff came through from me seeing so many, like I probably seen about 3 people get killed when I was a kid, right? But I seen, numerous people get shot, been involved in crime myself. But even morally, there was always something inside of me. Even with me doing this shit, I was like, man, this shit just ain't right. That's why what I do now makes so much fucking sense, because I was like, man, half of the shit you do when you're growing up, like it's not right. And even though you don't want to do it, you do it because of circumstances. But I wanted to do this shit long time ago. I wanted to be involved in the community. I wanted to help people. And I believe, Cory, that's why we connect on a lot of levels, because I think just if you come from a either poor or white background and you're a poor black person or a poor Hispanic thing, I think that there's not, I believe there's an element of racism in the world, but I think the world functions more of a classism. Like it's either you have shit or you don't. And if you poor and black or poor and white, I think motherfuckers just say fuck. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm always down with the people who come from nothing or just come from that perspective or come from a struggle or just come to making themselves of something. Like I tend to connect with them a bit more. And I'm always asking myself, based upon my experiences and what I've lived, how can I give information to these people to make their lives better? And that makes me feel like a fucking human being, like I'm contributing to something. And so as a kid, I didn't know all of this, but I knew this is the space I wanted to do. But I did a bunch of bullshit, which would somebody would say would contradict it. I got into a bunch of crimes and bullshit, but in my heart, I knew where I ultimately wanted to be. And I'm happy that I fucking got here.
I want to say something, Reese. So it's accurate, really. I've never heard you say it that way, right? I kind of knew about that from hearing Coach T talk about it, but it's like you essentially really, like some people might look at your career and be like, he never got to see what he could do on the field, but that really wasn't the end all be all for you in your mind anyway. This was.
So football brings you money, right? Just think about the stuff think about the stuff you're good at right now. So you always wanted to be a weightlifter and into fitness, right? But you know how to sell supplements. You feel where I'm coming from?
For sure.
So since I can do it, and since it's low hanging fruit, and since I understand the operational component, let me go ahead and get here because this also brings me money. You feel where I'm coming from? And so there's things that I can do, right? So I went out to sell autographs the other day, or they booked me for an autograph session. I don't want to be an autograph selling motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But it's you know what I'm saying? But I can do it. It makes sense.
I saw that picture hit the gram. I was wondering what you was doing.
You know, so
hey, if they was paying me for mine, I'd go, Reese.
Like, you know, people pay for an experience, and like that's like even fortunate to do it. And so football was like, football for me was the way to say, hey, I can make a ton of money playing a game, right? I just like to work hard and I like to compete against people. If I had a skill in basketball, I'd be a basketball player or soccer. This was a vehicle to something, but the humane side of me, the person in me, like if you look at anything I do, whether it's, I help people in mental different capacities. I like to help people and to encourage people. That's all I fucking like to do. And I love to just, help people figure out things that may seem complex to them. You know what I'm saying? I just enjoy that shit and try to do it in life. And so, like, you know, I was like, Cory, prime example. I was doing transportation. Did I enjoy transportation? No, but transportation was easy to understand and it was an easy way to make some money. So I was like, okay, let me put this together because this is a means to an end. Now the work that I'm doing now, like, and I know I'm falling off the beaten path, but to talk to a person who's struggling with some sort of mental ailment, some sort of belief system in themselves. I'm a fucking trainer just like you. You know what I'm saying?
But dude, it all comes back to that, Mo. Like that's what I love, right? Anybody, I think, who experiences some success that has some agility to be able to do what they want to do. I think people who are morally grounded say what you just said. Like, I want to help people understand things that may seem complex, or I want to help people. And when we get together, the three of us, and do this is a mini attempt that will hopefully grow into a enormous attempt at helping people. And when you've made money or when you've achieved a level of status, you get past that, and then you say, well, what's next, right? And in my mind, at least in my experience, what's next, if you ask yourself that question, is what's real, right? What's real is people and impacting people and sharing your experiences to uplift people. That is the realest form of human interaction that exists outside of, let's say, love, right? That is a form of love. So I think a lot of people who achieve things, and it's not like you don't need to work anymore, or it's not like you're a billionaire, but you get to a place where you're like, man, that shit that's real, oh my God, it's so much more rewarding than making 100 G in a day. It's so much fucking more rewarding because I get to take people and help them on their path and on their life. And maybe if I didn't interact with them or someone else didn't interact with them in a positive way, maybe they would be stuck in a hole, but I can help guide them out. So to me, that's the realest and the purest form of human interaction. And that will always trump everything.
I've been saying this forever, man. Like when I quit chasing the money and started developing people, my whole world opened up. The money came, the notoriety that, you know, of the things I was doing, the opportunities to work with my idols, the opportunities to be in the space I wanted to be. Like literally when I focused on that and quit chasing the dollar, I've never done anything different. And anytime I've ever reverted to chasing the dollar, it never works out the same way.
Well, because you realize it's not about you, right? It's not about you.
Can I say
it's never about you. It's about offering more to this fucking world and people through the gift you have. It's not about you. If I could pound that into people's fucking head, it's not about you. Share what you have with people. You will embolden yourself. You will be able to lead more effectively, and you will succeed at a much higher level. If you lower your self-importance and say, fuck, what I'm good at, I don't need to hoard it. I need to share it.
So I'll say this to add on to that, and shifting that perspective to helping people, but not forgetting to educate yourself on business. The more you educate yourself, the more you realize that, hey, maybe, you know, I understand business better. So I understand how to take advantage of opportunities in front of me. But the focal point has to be able to get people better. And Cory, look, if I'm a listener, I'd heard that shit 1,000 fucking times. I was one of those people who was on the other end like, shut the fuck up, motherfucker. I thought it was just like some kid. I was one of those dudes who like, this shit.
Like, yeah, easy for you to say. You already making money.
I was one of those dudes who exactly said that, oh, it's a lot easier for you to say, motherfucker, you got it going on. I need to be about self.
Yeah.
Like, how can I help somebody when I can't help myself? So that logically just doesn't like make sense to people.
Yeah, but when you pour into others, it comes back plenty.
Exactly.
With good intention. Pouring into them with good intention. I think the intention is important. I think the intention is important. Not expecting to get nothing back, but knowing if you have good intentions, something will return to you. And that's a universal principle. And I know we've kind of been everywhere on this whole deal, but it all started from.
Well, is the opportunity, Maurice, to get like, I used to just process it like this. I'm going to try to enrich your life through basically my disciplines, my learnings, my mentors, my readings, my all that. And in the manner through my business ventures that I do this, when it's time for you to make a decision, whether you can support my business or someone else's, more than not, because I made an interaction that was positive in your life and continue to, they're probably going to pick that. And I can never determine if they're going to or not.
But Cory, in return, they're enriching. Don't you believe that when you get the ability to enrich someone else's life, when they're vulnerable enough to allow that, don't you believe that they're enriching your life in return?
Yeah, of course. Okay. Absolutely. No, it gives you supreme like value that you're here for a reason, and that what you do means something, and that you're not just getting up to learn for you. You're getting up to do so. Like I've always had, ever since I understood how this stuff operates, I think that's why I stay consistent, because I'm just not, like, I have a responsibility. It's not just about me. It hasn't been for a really long time.
Right.
Now I still have the things I'm trying to accomplish. I still have the things I'm battling through, but my belief in that, once I understood really what it was about, that I have to stay on task. Like, that's why I never cave to the guy that says, yo, why are you still doing this or that? I just know this is who I'm supposed to be. And through that, and through these actions that I show daily, and through me being honest about what my aspirations are, and talking about how I dreamed of doing this and doing that, and letting people know that all this shit is fucking real. That's it. And that's why I think I'm so pumped every day, because I'm like, yeah, I got it figured out. But if I don't stay on track, once again, it'll go away just as fast as it came. So I think that momentum that I've been able to create and that we've all been able to create with a show like this is it has no ceiling to it as long as we just continue it. I believe that.
I never think I think I have a good grasp on it, if you will, but I never feel like I got it figured out, right? I feel like life is just a process of discovery, and I'm always trying to figure out more. And I think what I was saying by like, if someone's vulnerable enough to say, yeah, hey man, I'd love for you to help me, I'd love for you to guide me, that interaction, which is pure as the purest thing on this planet, I believe it's mutually beneficial. Now, if I have a business skill or a personal skill that they don't have, the act of sharing or giving or whatever you want to call it has just as much value for me giving to them and sharing with them as it does for them receiving some guidance from someone who's done it before. Like, the fulfillment is obscene.
That's what you get out of it. Because at the end of the day, John, we talked about this multiple times. When we're pouring into some of these younger people that are like directly in contact with us, you know, outside of the podcast and social media, but that we know, and then something happens where it's, you know, hey, they get twisted on something, fuck you, fuck that. It's like, I wouldn't get nothing out of this except for just a reciprocation of you doing better, if that's the right word. I don't know if it is, but like, I'm not getting any monetary value on you progressing in your career. I'm just getting the value of like, hey, I know how it works. And I can lead you if you want to be led. If you don't want to be led, then go figure it out on your own. It doesn't make no difference to me. I'm not gaining anything from it except for the actual feeling of good for this guy. I want him to win.
Do you really
and
believe
if he
you're not
needs
gaining
guys.
from it? Do you really believe you're not gaining?
No, I am. I guess when it comes to when I'm getting fingers pointed at me from the standpoint of if it's a monetary type of thing, I guess maybe that's what I'm trying to lean at. That's where I am gaining something from it from a spiritual standpoint of the value of them progressing. But when it turns, because, you know, all of us know that in a lot of situations, it turns to the dollar, somebody else pointing numbers and this and that, that's when it gets a little twisted, when I'm like, yo, there's no monetary thing that I'm gaining from this. This is purely from, I just want to see you do better. That's what I was trying to mean.
Let me say this, right? I'll say this. It may not have anything to do with this, but it popped up in my head. If all of your situations or all your relationships with everybody you're dealing with, and I'm talking to the listener, if they're all based upon a dollar transaction, you have some shit ass relationships.
You're fucked, homie.
I can promise you that, because the older I've gotten, and like John, I'm not a billionaire, right? I don't have like just shitloads of money like I'm Scrooge McDuck, right? But I got to the point where I could take care of myself and I could take care of my family, right? And I'll build onto some with Cory and then coming back to, right? So when you start to value the other things that you get outside of money, that's when you know that you fucking living life. When everything isn't about a fucking dollar. I'm telling you, when it's not about a fucking dollar, you start to fucking live life. And the biggest thing that I can say to you, start to understand that there's more valuable things in life than just fucking the dollar transaction. Because when you look at it, right, the house that I live in right now is no different than Cory's. It's no different than the next man's. His house may be bigger, but I still got a fucking bed. I still got a fridge. I'm still just basic fucking living life. I'm secure. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you got some cheeseburgers in there too, right?
I got some. I can put the cheese on the burger, and I can.
There we go.
You got rid of the cheeseburgers, Johnny. You didn't know.
You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
But I'm talking about for life, because like nobody ever told me this shit. Nobody ever told me like, okay, Reese, you know, there's other things to value. Like when you're doing business, like everything is all about the dollar. Get the transaction. Like actually, nah. You can actually build some good relationships where everything isn't about the fucking dollar. Like when Cory got with me back in the day, like, hey man, we together, you back in town. We just some good motherfuckers that hang around. You can value that if that's important in your life. But I'm talking about that's what brings like different values and layers to your life that adds significance. But when everything is about, if this transaction didn't go the way that you wanted to, and we split, and I've invested so much time into you, like, man, I've just wasted my fucking time with this person, giving them my life. You know what I'm saying? At first you feel like that. Like, let's be more than that. Let's be more than just a fucking financial transaction. Let's appreciate, hey, like, you know, just so much. There's so much more to relationships, I'm saying, than fucking, can I get $1 from him? Can he get $1 from me? Like, where's the dollar in this situation? And so Well, life becomes like that. You're caught into pop culture, I believe, and you're caught into all decisions are made from how do I gain and in a financial way. And when it's just about that, and life is so much fucking more than just a dollar, it becomes bad.
Yes.
And I don't know. Can y'all speak to that if y'all can?
Yeah, I can speak to that, dude. So here's a conversation I had with my mom 2 days ago, and I've told her this same statement literally 1,000 times. I say, Mom, just because I work, and when I work, my objective is to win and have a good looking scorecard, doesn't mean that money's my driver. And I say, Mom, I hate money. I absolutely hate money, because the personal relationships that matter to me most, when money is intermingled with them, I have seen them absolutely destroy the relationships. For what? Like, for what? Right? Whether somebody dies in the family, right? Or whether somebody has money and other people's want, like money is freedom, right? If you want to help somebody, help somebody. But money is what people tend to focus on when they don't have it. And I'm not saying my mother doesn't have it, but I tell her this all the time, because I want to spend zero time with my mother or anyone else that I care about and love talking about it, because it's dirty. It's like, shit's got to be taken care of. Okay, it'll be taken care of. Let's talk about how we're going to spend time with, like, it's so unpure, and there's all these ulterior motives. And I've developed a personal hatred, as bizarre as that sounds, because I love business. But like I said, money in business is a scorecard. That's all it is. But money and personal relationships are oil and fucking water. And I would advise every single listener to keep money as far away from the healthy personal relationships you have as humanly possible, because they have a huge probability of damaging them.
Johnny, I'll say that, I didn't know that about you going into being your partner, because you are so business and you're always like, margin, but it's all just the game.
Yes.
It's like, that's what's interesting about you, right? Because you're not really very materialistic. You like nice things and you like to stay in nice places and do it, but it's like you never really talk about stuff that often. That's just not your jam, right?
Not at all.
And so, not that I assume that you did, but most guys that have made the kind of money that you have, that enters their brain more. And what I started to realize by progressing with you as a business partner is that it's a fucking game to this dude. It truly is the scorecard. He's not fronting like this is. He's just trying to fucking win, and that doesn't matter whether it's $1 better for that T-shirt or what. Like, it all comes down to his team winning.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting. And it does cloud relationships and skew judgment, because here's the other problem is, usually when you enter money, in the most cases, we as a group are probably financially IQ, like maybe have like the better ones with the people that we're dealing with on a regular basis. We understand how stuff works a little bit better than most of the time that you're getting in the problems with people. And it just never works out well. I literally tell everybody at this point that wants to operate with us or work with me, I just tell them no. Like, I just don't hire. I had a family member of mine that I really love what she said. She came to me and said, I don't like my job anymore. She's like 23, 24. She goes, I know that I don't want to do what you do, but I know you're passionate about what you do. Can I come and hang out with you for a day? I said, absolutely. And I don't really know her that well. She's quite a bit younger than me, and we never grew up together or anything. Like, she was at family parties, but I don't know her that well. And she came in town and rolled with me for a whole day from 3 a.m. till 7. I was busy that day doing all these different businesses. And then at the end, she says, I would love to work with you. And I said, I'm sorry, but as much as that sounds good to me, what if I have to fire you a week later? Do you think that's going to go great over with not only you long term, but with your dad, who I've had a relationship with? He was my dad, one of my dad's best friends growing up. Like, I was like, I've just learned that even if that sounds great and I think it would work, I can't risk it.
It ain't worth it.
It ain't worth it. And so I think that, John, you saying it has like that, because money isn't evil. Money does give you freedom and give your family freedom if you do it right. So it does have these amazing qualities. It can help so many people and feed mouths, and Maurice giving 800 bikes away and a bazillion coats for his community. Like, it can do all of those things, but it can also deteriorate so many good relationships because of people's jealousy and not understanding how it operates. And so it's a very, very slippery slope, man.
Real quick, what I want to say is this, guys. Here's how you avoid. Like, I totally agree with you with what you just said, Cory. Here's how you avoid the trap of money. Be the same motherfucker that had $10 and had $10 million. Money does not define who you are. All money does is give you the ability to extend your net of giving and positivity, like Cory brought up Maurice's bikes and these other great things he does for the community. But be the same person and do not, you got to fight it, right? Because everybody who finds out you got some money, right, who finds out you had some success, they want to define you. They want to define you. Oh, you're the dude who did this. Yeah, you're the dude. No. Cancel out the noise, like Cory said. Cancel it out. You are the same you as you were before you deposited that check. And all you did was deposit that check. So you tell me if depositing a check changes who you are as a human being. You tell me.
Sure as fuck shouldn't change it. I mean, that's the thing. Honestly, I think that as you become more successful and you know, the dollars look different, right? Because then you can accumulate a wealth, you know how to make money, and things start to come plentiful, let's say at a certain degree. It can challenge, like, you thinking you're way sweeter than you are. And that's why I've attempted my entire career to keep the things in my life at like a day-to-day thing that keep me. The reason why I got old school with a coal mining helmet tattooed on my forearm was so I wouldn't fucking forget it. The reason why I go to old school gym every morning and deadlift the same against the guys, whether I had $10 or $10 million, is another thing. Like, the reason why, like, my wife will check me like, you ain't as cool as you think you are, and I have her, you know, her as that sounding ground is on purpose. Like, that's the kind of personality that I was
definitely ain't you ain't that cool.
Yeah, exactly. So, right, John.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, I know you're kidding because I'm fucking cool. Maurice told me I was cooler earlier today, so I'm going off that. But I think at the end of the day, like, I put things in. I saw firsthand in my old business. I saw what happened. Like, I saw how people acted in the beginning and how they acted towards the end. And you know, you can waver at times because the money can skew you to think that you're really better than you are if you get caught up in that. But I really try to put these things in place to remind me, fucking check yourself. You're not as cool as you think you are. Now, the money can let you operate in a different way. It can give you freedom. It can allow you to do things that you've always dreamed to do. But those checks and balances, I think, are extremely important ongoing. So hopefully you can draw from that a little bit. But I think we probably Maurice, you still there?
I'm still here, and I'm loving the shit. I told you, I think this is I tell like this, and I can say this with confidence, man. I've spoken 1,000 times on many different formats in many different cities around America. And this shit that we talking about on here is real shit. And that's all I can say. It's real shit. It's going to be received that way, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it, my man. This shit connects to people because it's real.
Yeah. Kudo. I agree. Ditto. Here's the thing. Maurice Claret gives you street cred. You know you're right, bro. That's all I'm saying. All right. Here's the deal. Let's wrap it up. Listen, Johnny, great idea for the podcast. That was really fun. I was a little uncomfortable in the beginning because I was trying to get my words properly done with the religion stuff, but I'm glad that, you know, working off you guys, made me more comfortable. And thanks for both sharing stories that I think were probably not the easiest to talk about. And so I think once again, we're being true to the listener. And, hey, here's the deal. Give us a review because we are being true to you guys. This is why we do it. Leave us a 5-star review. Give us a positive comment, attach us on social media with your at Biz and Biceps, Twitter or Instagram with your comment. We might just send you a free t-shirt, have Jeremy reach out to you. It's brought to you by a couple really great sponsors. Support them. They've been supporting you. First, it's shop.bstseafood.com. Mikey Scola wants to extend out a 15% off. So at BIZ 15, you can get 15% off. And he has the freshest, most legit seafood that's on the East Coast delivered straight to your door. Anything from swordfish all the way down to tilapia and cod and oysters and mussels and mahi. It's amazing. And then John, I'll throw it to you for podcast influencer.
Yeah, listen, all you guys have something to say. Every listener has something to say. We all have something to say. And podcasting is beautiful. We can do it from our living rooms. We can do it from our basement. And what podcastinfluencer.com does is it assists you in the process of getting going and making yourself known in the podcasting world. It directs you, and it also has connections with companies that support podcasting. So check it out, podcastinfluencer.com.
And lastly, maxevermuscle.com, build a stack. Check out the new Ronda Rousey line. We got the whole women's line decked out. We got the Max Crispy Treat. You can build a stack and it comes to your door in a sack. And for those of you guys that are new, because we got a lot of new subscribers, if you go all the way back to early Business and Biceps episodes, we build a supplement brand through the podcast, meaning like talking about it as we were creating the brand and coming up. And that really is where Business and Biceps caught fire originally, is because we were taking you through the process. And as Business and Biceps grows, as Podcast Influence grows and more people come into the fold, we'll continue to kind of keep you guys up to date. So I appreciate you guys. We did a really, I think, good job today. And, the numbers are showing we're in the top 10 on iTunes Business, which is a really, really coveted spot. And we want to keep going. So leave us those comments. Tell your friends about the episode. Share it with them today.
Subscribe.
And subscribe. You got to have subscribed because that's how iTunes recognizes us. And at the end of the day, Maurice Claret, you do it. You do the honors today.
I want to ask Cory and I want to ask John, can the podcast be stopped?
The podcast can't be stopped.